The rain hammered the hospital window like 1,000 accusatory fists, blurring the neon glow of downtown Chicago into a watery smear. Liam Harper's mother stood at the foot of his bed, her lips a thin slash of disapproval, while his father loomed behind her like a storm cloud ready to burst. "If God's calling him home," she whispered, her voice cracking just enough to betray the lie, "who are we to stand in the way? He's made his choices, filthy ones." Liam's chest heaved under the thin sheet, each breath a ragged betrayal of the pneumonia ravaging his lungs, but his eyes, fierce, unyielding green, locked onto hers. He'd come out to them 3 years ago in their sterile Evanston suburb, and they'd buried him alive in silence ever since. Now, at 28, with no insurance and a lifetime of resentment as his only legacy, they were letting the Reaper do what they never could. But as the monitors beeped their frantic Morse code, a shadow slipped through the door. Daniel Ruiz, soaked from the sprint across Michigan Avenue, his brown eyes blazing with the kind of love that didn't negotiate with hate. Daniel's boots squeaked on the linoleum as he crossed the room in 3 strides, shoving past Liam's father like he was parting the Red Sea. "Get the hell out," he growled, his Bronx accent thickening with fury, the kind honed from too many bar fights and too few apologies. Liam's parents recoiled. Margaret Harper with a gasp that echoed like shattering glass, Richard with a vein bulging in his temple, but they didn't move. "Not yet." "Liam's my emergency contact," Daniel said, thrusting the crumpled hospital bracelet under Richard's nose. It was a lie wrapped in truth. They'd forged the bond in stolen moments at the corner diner on Halsted, where Daniel flipped eggs at dawn and Liam nursed black coffee through all-nighters grading papers for his adjunct gig at Northwestern. 2 years of whispered promises in the back booth, of hands brushing under the table like secret Morse code. Daniel, 29 and built like a welterweight from his days sparring in Brooklyn gyms, had crossed state lines when Liam's fevered texts turned to silence. Now, here he was, the uninvited savior in a room thick with familial poison. Margaret clutched her purse like a shield, her pearls glinting under the fluorescent buzz. "This is family business, young man. You don't belong here." Her voice dripped with that North Shore chill, the one that said money bought morality. The Harpers owned half the real estate in Evanston, row houses for the university crowd, a trust fund fat enough to choke a horse. Liam had been the golden boy once, pre-law at Yale, until he traded pinstripes for poetry slams in Boys Town. Now, he was the black sheep, wheezing in a public ward because his parents had forgotten to update his beneficiary status after the coming-out barbecue that ended in slammed doors and scorched earth. Liam coughed, a wet, tearing sound that clawed at Daniel's heart. "Mom, please," he rasped, but it wasn't a plea for forgiveness. It was a goodbye to the ghost of who he'd been. Daniel shot him a look, the one that said "Hold on, mi amor," and turned back to the Harpers with fire in his veins. "Family? You call this family?" Daniel's laugh was bitter, echoing off the beeping machines. He jabbed a finger at the door. "He's burning up because you yanked his coverage the second he said he loved a man. That's not love. That's murder with extra steps." Richard stepped forward then, his face reddening to the shade of his alma mater tie. But Daniel didn't flinch. He'd faced worse. His own abuela's rosary beads clacking in disapproval when he brought Liam home for tamales, the taunts from his construction crew in Queens. Love like theirs was a rebellion, carved from stolen kisses in alleyways and midnight drives down Lake Shore. Margaret's eyes narrowed, calculating. "We're his blood. You'll slink back to whatever hole you crawled from." But her words faltered as a nurse bustled in, chart in hand, oblivious to the battlefield. "Mr. Harper, we've got a donor match for the meds. Your partner's signing the forms." The room froze. Daniel had emptied his savings for the experimental cocktail, the one that cost more than his truck. The Harpers exchanged a glance, the first crack in their united front. By dawn, the four dripped salvation into Liam's veins, and the Harpers slunk out like thieves in the night, muttering about lawyers and proper channels. Daniel collapsed into the vinyl chair, his hand enveloping Liam's, calluses rough against the poet's slender fingers. "You scared the shit out of me, Harp," he murmured, thumb tracing the vein that pulsed with fragile life. Liam managed a weak smile, his voice a thread. "Had to give you a reason to play hero." They laughed, or tried to, the sound bubbling up like champagne through the pain. Outside, the L train rumbled past, a lifeline threading through the city's indifferent sprawl. Chicago didn't care about broken families or forbidden loves. It swallowed them whole and spat out survivors. And in that moment, with Daniel's forehead pressed to his knuckles, Liam believed he might just be one. The weeks blurred into a gritty resurrection. Liam's apartment in Wicker Park became their fortress. Exposed brick walls plastered with broadsides from his spoken-word gigs, Daniel's toolbox spilling wrenches across the hardwood like metallic confetti. Daniel took overtime at the site, hauling rebar under the relentless Midwest sun, while Liam pieced together lesson plans on his laptop, the glow illuminating the hollows of his cheeks. Their nights were a tangle of limbs and low whispers, Daniel's mouth mapping the scars of illness like a cartographer charting new lands. "You're too good for this city," Liam said one evening, as they sprawled on the fire escape, the skyline a jagged silhouette against the bruised purple sky. Fireflies, late bloomers from the warming planet, danced in the alley below, a rare magic in the urban grind. Daniel chuckled, pulling him closer, the scent of sawdust and sweat mingling with Liam's sandalwood cologne. "Nah, Chicago's got grit. Like us." He nuzzled Liam's neck, teeth grazing just enough to elicit a shiver. "Besides, who'd keep you from burning the toast?" It was their rhythm. Banter as armor, touch as truth. Liam had grown up in privilege's shadow, country club brunches, summers in the Hamptons, but Daniel was the son of immigrants, his hands etched with the labor of building someone else's American dream. Yet in their bed, hierarchies dissolved. Love was the great equalizer, fierce and unapologetic. But shadows lingered. A letter arrived one humid afternoon, crisp vellum from a loop firm, Harper v. Harper Contest of Will. Liam's grandfather, old Elias, had passed quietly in his Gold Coast penthouse, leaving a fortune in stocks and a brownstone to my grandson, Liam Elias Harper, provided he upholds the family name with honor. The codicil was a knife. In the event of moral lapse, assets revert to surviving heirs. Moral lapse. The words burned like acid. Liam's hands trembled as he read it aloud to Daniel over takeout lo mein, the fortune cookies mocking them from the coffee table. "They think they can erase me. Like I was never born right." Daniel's jaw tightened, fork clattering to the plate. "Fuck him. We fight." But Liam saw the worry in his eyes, the what-ifs stacking like unpaid bills. Daniel had proposed last winter, on a frozen pier by the Adler Planetarium, ring a simple silver band engraved with Siempre. They'd planned a quiet ceremony at the courthouse, dreams of a life beyond the struggle. Now, This ghost from Evanston threatened to unravel it all. The first hearing was a circus of tailored suits and veiled barbs. Liam's parents sat across the oak table in the Daily Center. Margaret's Botox-smooth face a mask of piety. Richard's lawyer, a silver fox with a Harvard drawl, spinning yarns of undue influence from that Ruiz boy. Daniel sat beside Liam, hand under the table a steady anchor. But the air hummed with prejudice. The judge's arched brow sang more than any gavel. "Your Honor," the lawyer intoned, "Mr. Harper's lifestyle choices, documented dalliances with unsavory elements, cast doubt on his fitness to inherit." Unsavory. The word hung like smoke, and Liam felt the room tilt. Memories crashing, the Bible study group that outed him, the disinvitation to his sister's wedding, the Christmas card with a single line, "Pray for guidance." Daniel's grip tightened, knuckles whitening. He leaned in, breath hot against Liam's ear. "Breathe, baby. We're in this." But as the judge adjourned for recess, Margaret approached, her heels clicking like Judgment Day. "This could end quietly, Liam. Sign it over, and we'll help with your condition." Her eyes flicked to Daniel, disdain curling her lip. "Find a nice girl, maybe. Start over." Liam's laugh was hollow, echoing in the marble hall. "Start over? You mean pretend? Like you did?" He saw it then, the flicker in her eyes, the buried truth of her own youth. A college fling with a sorority sister hushed by Daddy's checkbook. But she turned away, Richard's arm a possessive clamp on her elbow. That night, in their bed, Daniel held him through the sobs, bodies pressed close in defiant intimacy. "I love you," Daniel murmured, lips brushing the curve of Liam's shoulder. "All of you. The poet, the fighter, the mess." Liam arched into him, seeking solace in the familiar rhythm. The slide of skin on skin, a rebellion against the cold calculus of blood ties. They moved slow, deliberate, each touch a vow, "We are enough." Yet dawn brought no mercy. The pneumonia had left echoes, a persistent cough, nights of fever dreams where his parents' faces morphed into reapers. Daniel watched him sleep, worry etching lines around his eyes, and wondered if love could outrun legacy. The counterclaim came swift as a summer squall. Liam's lawyer, a firebrand dyke from Pritzker named Elena, filed affidavits. Medical records of the insurance sabotage, emails from Margaret's AOL account seething with slurs. "This isn't about money," Elena said over coffee at Sather's, cinnamon rolls steaming between them. "It's about dragging their skeletons into the light." Liam nodded, but doubt gnawed. What if the light burned him too? Daniel threw himself into the fray, canvassing old friends from Liam's slams, queer poets who'd seen the Harper's icy stares at open mics. One, a drag queen named Vesper, testified to overhearing Richard at a fundraiser. "Boy's dead to us. Let the devil sort him." The words landed like punches in court. The gallery murmuring, a rainbow flag pin glinting on a reporter's lapel. But betrayal brewed closer. Liam's sister, Claire, 32, married to a pharma exec in Naperville, sent a text, "Family meeting. Neutral ground. Come alone." Daniel's hackles rose, but Liam went, drawn by the frayed thread of sibling love. They met at a Starbucks in Oak Brook, the air thick with pumpkin spice and pretense. Claire's eyes were red-rimmed, her manicure tapping the venti cup. "They're destroying us, Lee. Dad's blood pressure, Mom's popping Xanax like candy. Just take the settlement." 50 mil. Wired clean. She slid a folder across. Terms, NDAs, a clause burying the incident forever. Liam's throat tightened. Incident? You mean when they let me suffocate because I kiss men? Claire flinched, glancing at the barista, a twink with blue hair. It's not like that. They love you, in their way. Love doesn't watch you drown. He stood, chair scraping. Tell them I'm done begging. As he left, his phone buzzed. Daniel. Where are you? Elena says the judge is leaning our way. Hope flickered, fragile as a match in wind. But Claire's words echoed, a siren's call to surrender. The gala was Richard Harper's annual triumph. Black tie philanthropy at the Art Institute, where oil barons and tech bros toasted progress, with vintage scotch while ignoring the unhoused shivering on Michigan Avenue. Liam hadn't set foot in such circles since Yale, but Elena insisted, show them you're unbroken. So there he was, in a borrowed Armani from Daniel's closet, tailored tight across the shoulders, a subtle fuck you to the room's heteronormative haze, arm linked with his lover's. Daniel looked edible. Crisp white shirt unbuttoned at the collar, exposing the ST. Jewed metal from his abuela, slacks hugging his ass like a promise. They'd argued that morning, Liam's cough worsening, Daniel wanting him home with tea and Netflix. I'm not fragile glass, Liam had snapped, but Daniel's kiss had been apology enough, lingering until the cab honked. The lion fountain bubbled indifferently as they entered the grand hall, chandeliers dripping light like liquid gold. Whispers rippled, the prodigal. With his companion. Margaret spotted them first, a vision in Chanel, her smile a rictus as she glided over with Claire in tow. Liam, darling, air kiss, perfume cloying as regret. You clean up well. Though that tie, bold choice. Her eyes slid to Daniel, praising. And Mr. Ruiz. Construction. Was it? Charming. Daniel's grin was wolfish. Plumbing the depths of bullshit. Mostly. Claire choked on her champagne. But Margaret's facade held. We're all here for a cause. AIDS research ironic, isn't it? The barb landed, Liam's hand clenching Daniel's. Before he could retort, Richard materialized, scotch in hand, his laugh booming like thunder over the string quartet. Son, glad you made it. Been meaning to talk, off the record. He steered Liam toward a shadowed alcove, away from the swirl of gowns and egos. Daniel followed, a silent sentinel, but Richard waved him off. Family matter, in the alcove, framed by Monet's water lilies, the mask slipped. This lawsuit, it's killing your mother. Richard's voice dropped, gravelly with bourbon. Elias was old school. Blood and honor. You parade around with him. A jerk of the chin toward Daniel, chatting with Vesper across the room. It spits on the grave. Liam's pulse thrummed. Honor? You mean hiding who I am to keep the country club invite? He leaned in, voice low. I know about the Evanston clinic. That. The one you funded, reparative therapy. How many boys like me did you break? Richard's face drained of color, then flushed crimson. Lies. From your sources. But the stutter betrayed him. Liam pressed. Claire told me. Late nights. Consultations. You profited off pain. A hush fell as Richard backhanded him. Not hard, but sharp, the slap echoing like a gunshot in the alcove's hush. Gasps from nearby donors. Daniel was there in a blur, wrenching Richard's arm back with a wrestler's grip. Touch him again, and I'll bury you deeper than any will. Security swarmed, but Elena's card flashed like a shield. The Harpers retreated, humiliated, Richard's glare promising war. In the cab home, Liam nursed his cheek with ice from a 7-Eleven slushie, Daniel's fury cooling into quiet rage. We end this tomorrow, but sleep evaded them, tangled in sheets damp with sweat and unshed tears. Daniel's hands roamed, urgent, mapping Liam's body like a prayer. You're mine, he growled against Liam's throat, hips grinding in a rhythm born of desperation. Liam gasped, nails raking Daniel's back, the pain in his cheek forgotten in the blaze of possession. They climaxed together, breathless. The cities hum a distant lullaby. Morning brought the deposition. Claire, under oath in a sterile conference room, her Gucci bag a prop against nerves. Elena's questions were scalpels. Did you witness your parents withholding medical aid from your brother? Claire's eyes darted. To the window, to her lawyer, to Liam's steady gaze. They discussed options. It was complicated. Complicated, Elena echoed. Or calculated. Emails show your mother Googling gay son disownment laws the day after his diagnosis. The room thickened. Claire's voice cracked. They were scared. Of scandal. The inheritance. It's all we have left of Grandpa. Liam leaned forward. What about me? Claire? Am I all you have left? Tears spilled then. Mascara tracking black rivers. I tried to warn you. But yes. They let you suffer. To prove a point. The admission hung. A guillotine blade. Richard's team objected furiously. But the damage was done, betrayal from within. The family's fortress crumbling. News hit the Trib. Harper heir alleges parental abandonment in inheritance battle. Protests bloomed outside the Daily Center. Queer activists with signs. Love is the legacy. Daniel stood shoulder to shoulder with Liam on the steps. Their kiss a front-page flashpoint. Raw and unscripted. Yet victory tasted bittersweet. That night, Liam spiked a fever, the pneumonia's ghost rattling his ribs. Daniel rushed him to Rush, the ER a fluorescent purgatory. As doctors swarmed, Liam clutched Daniel's shirt. If I don't, the will. It's yours. For us. Shut up, Daniel choked, kissing his forehead. You're fighting. For me. Hours later, stabilized but fragile, Liam slept, Daniel vigil-bound. Outside, protesters chanted, a chorus of solidarity in the Windy City's unyielding gale. The climax crested in federal court. The judge, a grizzled vet with a rainbow pin hidden in his chambers, ruling on summary judgment. Prejudice has no place in probate, he intoned, hammer falling like absolution. The inheritance. Liam's, unencumbered. The Harpers' counter, dismissed with prejudice, plus sanctions for bad faith. Margaret's scream echoed down the hall as they exited, Richard's face a ruin of defeat. Claire lingered, envelope in hand, keys to the brownstone, a note scrawled in her looping script. Forgive me. Build something better. In the brownstone's sun-drenched kitchen, exposed beams, Lake Michigan views, Liam and Daniel toasted with cheap Prosecco. To new starts, Liam said, clinking glasses. But shadows clung, the cough that lingered, the therapy bills stacking, Daniel's job teetering on a union bust. Love, they learned, was no fairy tale. It was the daily grind of refilling prescriptions, of Daniel's calloused hands braising pork for pozole on rainy Sundays, of Liam's poems etched into the fridge in magnetic letters. "We are the inheritance," one read, fierce and unclaimed. Yet doubt whispered. A month post-ruling, Liam found the letter in Richard's effects, Elias's original will, unaltered. A footnote, to Liam, "My light, be true." The old man had known, loved quietly. Tears came then, hot and healing, Daniel holding him on the wool rug. "They don't define you," he murmured. "We do." And in the quiet, with Chicago's heartbeat pulsing beyond the panes, they believed it. Autumn painted the Gold Coast in incendiary hues, oaks aflame along the drive, Lake Michigan a slate mirror to the sky's brooding indigo. The brownstone, a Victorian relic with gargoyles leering from the eaves, felt less like a windfall and more like a haunted heirloom. Liam wandered its halls at odd hours, fingers trailing dust-cloaked banisters, unearthing trunks of Elias's life. Faded photos of a young man arm-in-arm with another in 1940s tweed, their eyes holding secrets too vast for words. Daniel watched from the kitchen, nursing coffee black as his mood. The windfall bought security, renovations underway, a trust seeding queer scholarships, but it carved hollows in Liam. "You're a ghost here," Daniel said one crisp morning, as Liam stared out at the yacht club, sails snapping like accusations. "Not a ghost. A reckoning." Liam turned, his smile wan but genuine, green eyes catching the light like fractured emeralds. He'd started a non-profit, Harper Haven, a halfway house for LGBTQ plus youth booted from Bible Belt homes, modeled on the shelters that saved him in his early Chicago days. Daniel volunteered weekends, teaching carpentry to wide-eyed runaways, his patience a balm where fists had failed. Their life wove into the city's warp, brunches at Tweet, where drag queens held court over bottomless mimosas, nights at the Green Mill, Liam reciting originals while Daniel nursed IPAs, pride swelling like a tide. Sex was their sacrament. Lazy Sundays in sun-dappled sheets, Daniel's mouth worshipful on Liam's cock, drawing moans that echoed off the high ceilings, urgent fucks against the subway-tiled shower wall after brutal sight days, Liam's legs wrapped around Daniel's waist, heels digging crescents into sweat-slick skin. But the Harper's venom lingered, a slow poison. Anonymous tips to the Sun-Times, prodigal son's lavish lifestyle on taxpayer dime, twisting the scholarships into scandal. Daniel's crew whispered, Harper's boy toy draining the trust, old machismo flaring. One night, after a shift, Daniel came home with split knuckles, blood crusting his jeans. "Asshole at the sight," he muttered, dodging Liam's eyes as he iced his hand. "Said I was playing house with the fairy prince." Liam's stomach nodded. "And you fought, Dan?" "We can't." "Can't what?" "Let them talk." Daniel's voice cracked, the boxer surfacing. "I did what I had to. For us." He pulled Liam close, the embrace fierce, lips crashing in a kiss tasting of copper and regret. They tumbled to the couch, clothes shed in a frenzy. Daniel's thrusts a declaration, mine. Unbreakable. Liam came with a cry, nails scoring Daniel's shoulders, but the afterglow soured with unspoken fears. Claire's olive branch came tentative, coffee at Intelligentsia, her bump just showing under cashmere. "Baby Harper number 2, she said, stirring oat milk with a sheepish grin. "Thought you should know." Liam's throat tightened. Uncle to a niece or nephew, blood calling despite the scars. "I'm happy for you," he lied. Then amended. Really? But them? Claire sighed, tracing the foam heart in her latte. Dad's in therapy. Mom's volunteering at a shelter. Ironically, they're trying. Water under the bridge. He wanted to believe it. The humanistic pull of forgiveness, a siren's song. Maybe. For the kid. They hugged goodbye. Awkward but warm. Claire's perfume a ghost of childhood holidays. Emboldened, Liam extended the invite. Thanksgiving, neutral ground, the brownstone, turkey brined in Daniel's abuela's recipe. Daniel balked, but Liam's plea, show them love wins, melted him. The day dawned brittle, wind whipping Astor Street leaves into cyclones. Daniel basted the bird, his flannel rolled to elbows, while Liam set the table with Elias's Wedgwood, crystal catching firelight. The Harpers arrived at 4, Margaret in pearls and penitence, Richard's hair thinner, eyes downcast. Claire mediated, her glow a buffer. Awkward toasts followed to family, redefined, but tension simmered like gravy on the stove. Daniel passed the yams, polite but distant, his knee brushing Liam's under the oak. Conversation skirted minds. The Foundation's gala, Claire's nursery plans. Then Richard cleared his throat, voice gruff. Liam. About the will. Elias left me a letter too. For you. He slid an envelope across, yellowed edges trembling in his grip. Liam's fingers shook opening it. My boy, the world will test your truth. Stand tall. Your grandfather loved fiercely once. Learn from it. All mine is yours. No strings but heart. Tears blurred the ink. Margaret reached then, tentative, her hand covering Liam's. We were wrong. Scared. But seeing you here, with him, it's beautiful. Her voice broke, and for the first time, Liam saw her, not monster, but woman, warped by Ira's iron grip. Daniel watched, guarded, but softened when Richard clapped his shoulder. Ruiz' strong name. My crew built half this city. Yours too, a bridge, rickety but real. Dessert dissolved barriers. Pumpkin pie. Stories of Elias's speakeasy days. Laughter bubbling like the cider. As dishes cleared, Daniel pulled Liam aside in the pantry. Mouths meeting in a stolen kiss. Hands wandering. Proud of you, Daniel whispered, nipping his earlobe. My warrior poet. But betrayal's echo was never silent. 2 weeks later, a package arrived. Claire's ultrasound. Joyous until the enclosure. A codicil from Richard's lawyer, contesting a newly discovered trust clause. Moral turpitude voids subsidiary assets. The brownstone's deed. Threatened. Liam's world tilted. She knew, he whispered to Daniel, the photo crumpling in his fist. Thanksgiving was a ploy, rage and grief warred, but Daniel's arms anchored him. We fight again. Together, the second suit hit like a nor'easter, depositions in winter's bite. Claire, tearful on the stand, I didn't know. Swear. But emails surfaced, her forwarding Foundation donor lists to Richard. For leverage. Betrayal bisected. Sibling bond severed. Climax brewed in a blizzard-bound hearing. Snow howling against the courthouse panes. Elena eviscerated. This family's hatred is a pattern. Abandonment. Now extortion. The judge. Stern. Dismissed. With costs. And a restraining order. Richard's collapse followed. Stroke in the ambulance. Margaret at his bedside. Claire's texts frantic. He's asking for you. Liam went. Daniel driving through whiteout drifts. Heart a storm of its own. In the ICU, Richard rasped. Tubes snaking like regrets. Forgive me. Liam's hand in his. Frail now. I do. But understand this, my family's him. A nod. Tears tracking Richard's lined cheek. Good man. Richard stabilized. But the fracture healed crooked. Claire decamped to her in-laws. The baby a bridge too far. Margaret sent checks. Anonymous. For the shelter, silent amends. Spring thawed the lake. Cherry blossoms rioting along the Mag Mile. Liam and Daniel married in a rooftop ceremony at the brownstone. Vesper officiating in sequins and sass. Guests a tapestry of queer kin. Poets. Builders. Survivors. Vows exchanged under a rainbow arcing improbable post-rain. In sickness. In health. In betrayal. In triumph. Their honeymoon was Chicago itself. Deep dish at Lou's. Blues at Kingston Mines. Bodies entwined in the king bed overlooking the ceaseless flow. Love, they found, was humanistic in its mess, forgiving not for absolution, but for space to breathe. Yet Liam's cough persisted, a reminder of costs. One dawn, as Daniel slept, he penned a poem. Inheritance is not gold, but the hand that holds it through the fire. He left it on the pillow, slipping out to the shelter, where a new kid, wide-eyed, fresh from disownment, waited for story time. Summer's humidity clung like a second skin, the brownstone's AC wheezing against the heat wave that turned Lake Michigan to steam. Liam's foundation thrived. Harper Haven expanded to a second site in Uptown. Bunk beds for 20 more lost boys. Murals by local artists blooming like defiant wildflowers on cinderblock walls. Daniel oversaw the build, his crew donating sweat equity, hammers ringing hymns to second chances. But the idol fractured on a sweltering July 4th. Fireworks cracked over Navy Pier as Liam scrolled emails on the fire escape. Daniel grilling brats below, the sizzle mingling with laughter from the block party. A subject line stopped him cold. Estate finalization, urgent dispute. Margaret. In the months since Richard's stroke, she'd morphed into a spectral penitent. Weekly calls to Liam, stilted at first, how's the weather? Evolving to vulnerable confessions over chamomile tea at the brownstone. I was like you once, she'd admitted one rainy afternoon, voice hushed as if walls had ears. Summer in Nantucket, 1968. Her name was Sophie. Daddy sent me to Europe after. The revelation had cracked Liam open. Empathy for the woman who'd caged her own heart. Now, the email, Richard's recovering, but the doctors. End stage. He wants to see you. And the will, there's a codicil. For the baby. Claire's son. Born in May, little Elias Ruiz Harper. No. Wait. Harper Thompson. But the name's blurred in Liam's rising bile. Attached. A notary-stamped addendum. Richard's shaky scrawl diverting $10 million to grandchild's education. In trust. Bypassing moral encumbrances. Bypassing. The word ignited fury. Liam stormed downstairs. Phone thrust at Daniel amid the bunting and coolers. They're doing it again. Using the kid as leverage. Daniel's face darkened. Tongs clattering to the Weber. That's slimy. After everything, he'd warmed to Margaret's overtures. Even sharing Abuela's tres leches recipe over Easter ham. But Richard remained a cipher, his hospital bed contrition suspect. We tell Elena. Shut it down. The lawyers reconvened in August's sticky pall, the loop a furnace of suits and scheming. Elena's deposition of Margaret was a masterclass in unraveling. You claim redemption, yet sabotage your son's legacy for a grandchild who doesn't need it? Margaret, perched on the hard chair in her linen shift, met Liam's eyes across the table. It's not sabotage. It's protection. Richard's dying wish to secure the line. Clean. Her voice quavered, but steel underpinned the old Evanston armor. Clean, Liam echoed, the word venomous. Like erasing me? He slid the codicil back. Elias loved without conditions. You're twisting his ghost. Daniel, beside him, squeezed his thigh under the table, a silent steady. But as Margaret gathered her bag, she paused, hand on Liam's arm. Come see him. Please. For closure. The hospice smelled of antiseptic and wilted lilies. Richard a husk in the recliner, oxygen hissing like confessions. Claire hovered, Elias Jr. gurgling in a carrier, chubby fists waving. Liam, Richard wheezed, eyes milky but sharp. Knew you'd come. Daniel waited in the hall, thumbing through a dog-eared people, his presence a force field. Inside, Liam knelt, the linoleum cool against his slacks. Why now? The money, it's blood money. Richard's laugh dissolved into coughs. Not money. Legacy. You live it. Proud. A tear escaped, carving a path through stubble. Forgive an old fool? Liam's resolve cracked. I forgave at Thanksgiving. It's betrayal. That. Again. But as Richard clasped his hand, frail but fervent, something shifted. Not absolution, but understanding. The man who'd let him die now faced his own, stripped of power. Claire approached after, babe in arms. He's innocent. The codicil, Mom pushed it. Guilt, I think. Trying to rewrite sins. Her eyes pleaded, the sibling scar tissue tender. Don't let hate win. Daniel met him in the parking lot, humidity pressing like judgment. How'd it go? Liam leaned into him, forehead to chest. Complicated. Like us. They drove home top down in Daniel's beat-up Mustang, wind whipping regrets, stopping at Rainbow Beach for toes in the surf. Daniel's kiss was salt-tanged, hands cupping Liam's face. Whatever comes, we face it. No more ghosts. September brought the ruling. Codicil invalidated, assets intact, but with a twist, judge's order for mediation. Family therapy mandated. Heal or dissolve. The decree read. Humanistic hammerfall. Sessions convened in a Lincoln Park office. Circle of chairs like a support group for the damned. Margaret arrived first. Always early. Her therapy-honed candor a work in progress. I hated you for being free, she admitted to Liam one Tuesday. Rain lashing the windows. What I couldn't be. Richard, via video from rehab, nodded mutely, words rationed by fatigue. Daniel attended sporadically, his input blunt. Love ain't a ledger. It's showing up. The therapist, a soft-spoken trans man named Theo, nodded, guiding them through minefields. The insurance cutoff, the slap at the gala, Claire's complicity. Betrayal's layers peeled. Claire confessed forwarding lists not for sabotage, but to gauge donors' politics. I wanted to help, stupidly, Forgiveness flowed fitful, hugs exchanged, then withdrawn, apologies laced with caveats. But seeds took root. Richard's first call to Liam post-ruling, voice stronger, proud of the shelter. Send pics. October's foliage turned the drive to a tunnel of fire, mirroring the blaze in Liam's chest. A donor gala at the Hilton, black ties, bids on Basquiat's, toasts to visibility. Liam keynote, voice steady, inheritance isn't deeds, it's the courage to claim your story. Daniel, in the wings, eyes shining, mouthed love you. Post-speech, Margaret approached, arm linked with Richard's, Walker steadying him, color returning. Beautiful, she said, pressing a check, personal, 7 figures. For you. No strings. Richard grunted assent. Build big. Son. The moment teetered, trap or truce. Liam hugged them, brief but bone deep. Thank you, Claire, with Elias on her hip. Snapped a photo, the Harper's hole, fractured but mending. That night, euphoria crested. Daniel and Liam fucked on the balcony. City lights winking complicity. Daniel's thrusts deep and deliberate. Liam's cries swallowed by the night. Forever, Daniel panted, spilling inside him, their release a catharsis. November whispered warnings. Liam's cough deepened, scans revealing shadows, scars from the pneumonia. Or worse, Daniel's panic was a live wire, nights pacing as Liam slept fitful. We're not losing you, he vowed. Booking specialists. The trust's funds a bulwark. The diagnosis landed like winter's first frost. Chronic fibrosis. Manageable but merciless. Years. Not months, the doc said. But Daniel heard dirge. Liam, pragmatic poet, quipped, more time for bad haiku, but alone. Tears came. Fear of leaving Daniel widowed. The shelter unfinished. Humanism's test. Not survival, but grace. Liam wrote letters to Claire's boy, to the Haven kids. Live loud. Love true. Daniel read them, heart-shattering. Then burned one. No goodbyes yet. Thanksgiving redux. Full table. Richard carving turkey with shaky hands. Margaret's pie lauded. Laughter genuine. Stories overlapping. Elias's war tales. Daniel's Bronx brawls. As pie plates cleared, Richard raised his glass. To Liam. My light. Tears flowed free. The room a vessel of mending. Outside, snow dusted the gargoyles. Chicago hunkered against the cold. Love, Liam realized, was the ultimate inheritance, earned in betrayals weathered, conflicts conquered. Winter gripped the city in iron jaws, the lake frozen to a vast, cracked pane under gunmetal skies. Holiday lights strung the brownstone's facade like defiant stars. Harper Haven's tree aglow with ornaments from grateful alumni, queer icons in the making, their stories etched in glitter and glue. Liam's health wobbled. Good days of lecturing at DePaul, voice resonant with verse. Bad ones curled in bed, oxygen mask fogging his dreams. Daniel's hand the tether. The final betrayal slithered in on Christmas Eve. A certified letter amid the cards. Harper Family Trust, revocation notice. Margaret's signature, notarized. Upon reflection, assets realigned for charitable causes, Evanston Presbyterian Outreach. The shelter's funding gutted. Liam's fury was a quiet inferno. Phone to Margaret's ear. How? After therapy. After everything. Her voice. Brittle as hoarfrost. Richard's gone. passed last night. Peaceful. The money, it's for redemption. Real redemption. Click. Daniel found him on the roof. Snow whirling. Fists clenched against the parapet. She took it all. For outreach, code for conversion camps. Daniel's embrace was furnace warm. We'll rebuild. Crowdfund. Grants. Fuck her ghosts. They descended. Making love by firelight. Slow. Sacred. Daniel's tongue tracing Liam's ribs. Drawing gasps that defied the ache. Climax came soft. A shared sigh. Bodies entwined as carols drifted from the street. Richard's funeral was a North Shore spectacle. Episcopal pomp. Eulogies lauding the philanthropist. Omissions glaring as absences. Liam attended alone. Daniel at the Haven with emergency intakes. Teens fleeing holiday horrors. In the receiving line, Margaret's eyes met his, hollow, haunted. He loved you. At the end, Liam nodded. Words ash. Then why this? He pressed the revocation into her palm. She crumpled, whispering, fear. Of hell. Of losing Claire's boy to your world. Confessions flood. Her own youth's ghost. Sophie's letters burned. A life unlived fueling the hate. Claire, veiled in black, pulled him aside in the vestibule. I fought her. But the will, irons in it. Her hand on his belly, Elias Jr. A bump of hope. Stay, Lee. For us. He left without goodbye. The lake wind scouring tears. Home. Daniel waited with tamales and tequila. Their feast a fuck you to grief. To hell with blood, Daniel toasted. We make our own. The climax unfolded in the new year. A press conference at the Haven. Liam, gaunt but glowing, flanked by Daniel and Vesper, announcing the Liam Harper Resilience Fund. Donors poured in Oprah retweet, corporate pledges exceeding the loss. Protesters picketed Margaret's gala weeks later. Signs, fake charity, real hate. Her empire cracked. Board resignations. The outreach exposed as reparative sham. Margaret called once. Voice spectral, I'm sorry. Truly. Liam, mid-chemo infusion. The fibrosis demanding aggressive treatment. Replied, sorry doesn't rebuild. But understanding. Does. He hung up, turning to Daniel, for stand a third wheel in their bed. Read to me, Daniel's voice, gravel and grace, spun Neruda into the dim. I want to do with you what spring does with the cherry trees. Sleep came, merciful. Spring's thaw mirrored mending, chemocycles blurring into bloom, Liam's hair a soft fuzz, Daniel's buzzcut in solidarity. The wedding vow renewed, no. Amplified in a hospital chapel. Theo officiating. Claire witness with babe in arms. In joy and in jagged edges. Liam promised. Ring slipping on Daniel's finger. Betrayal's scar tissue toughened them. Margaret's empire crumbled. Her apology a handwritten missive to the Haven. Use this to heal what I broke. Check enclosed. Modest but sincere. Claire visited weekly. Little Elias cooing at Uncle Lee. Bridge to a future unpoisoned. Climax's echo faded into humanistic coda. Liam's remission held. Tentative as new leaves. Daniel's promotion to foreman funded a ring for Claire's boy, Harper Ruiz, defying lines. The brownstone hosted barbecues. Haven kids grilling with ex-crew. Poets jamming with punks. Margaret a ghost at the edges. Invited but absent. One June dusk. On the rooftop, that memorable perch where rain once baptized their resolve. Liam and Daniel stood, hands clasped, skyline a testament to endurance. Fireflies returned, late again, dancing in the humid hush. "We survived," Liam murmured, head on Daniel's shoulder. "More than that," Daniel replied, kiss soft as promise. "We thrived. Because of us." Below, the city pulsed Chicago, crucible of dreams, indifferent arbiter of hearts. Love, in its romantic, ragged glory, was the true fortune, dramatic in tempests, emotional in whispers, humanistic in the quiet choice to rise. No tidy bows, but a legacy etched in lives reclaimed, betrayals transmuted to bridges. And in that golden hour, with the world vast and waiting, they stepped forward together,